Hi guys, my name is Peter, and today I'd like to share with you a mod I made for the Thrustmaster wheels. So I bought this TSXW around a year ago, and overall I'm pretty happy with it. So the quality is good, it's priced quite reasonably, and the performance is perfectly suitable for my needs. But there are just two things that I don't really like about it. So number one is very basic pedal set, and I dealt with that by just quickly replacing it for Fanatec. And the other thing is the so-called quick release. So I, I mean, I know what Thrustmaster wanted to do here, so it's just easier for people to replace the wheels and buy the add-ons. And yeah, it does hold the wheel to the wheelbase pretty well. But one thing, I don't really know how durable is it going to be if you change your wheels frequently. And it's just the way you replace the wheel. So you need a screwdriver first of all in order to remove your wheel. It's 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 just a lot of hassle for me. It's just not a quick release as I see it. And that's why I decided to do something about it. So let's start from just comparing how long does it take to replace the wheels. 3, 2, 1, start. Okay. Now let's put it back. All right. Yeah, so yeah, for me it's neither quick nor convenient, I have to say. Okay, so now let's compare it against the mod I made. So ta-da! Ta-da! Bit faster, isn't it? On top of that, I can use a number of custom wheels, like, for example, this one, if I wanted to do some rally, or this 3D printed one, if I wanted to do some GT racing. Easy, right? Now let's look up close at the parts that are included in the mod. So the first one is the threaded one that mounts into the wheelbase and holds the locking mechanism. So this part is this side of the mod is basically a replication of the original one mount that's in the wheel, in the Thrustmaster wheel. So you can see it's basically the same idea here. It's just that it has a hole through, so the second part just mounts inside here. We have the quick release mechanism here. It's a fairly common slim quick release that can be widely found on eBay and other Chinese websites. It's quite cheap, so but at the same time it's not rubbish. I mean, I wouldn't use it in my car, but yeah, for sim racing, more than fine. Right, so we have this piece of plastic here that's 3D printed in PLA, and the reason why I chose PLA is because it's much less flexible than, for example, PETG. The downside of PLA is that it's a bit more fragile as well, and that's why I've added these 4 screws inside here. So they basically increase the durability of the part, and I've been using this particular piece for yeah, I think over half a year. And yeah, it's like perfect. Nothing got damaged at all. So I think it's just good enough. Then we have the quick release mechanism mounted in here. The screws used to mount the quick release system here are the ones that come in the set when you're buying these Chinese slim quick releases. So these are not like extra screws. These are included in the original set. And lastly, I have this kind of like a ring on top of it. Now the reason is after a couple of hours of racing, this gets slippery. I mean, this is pretty slippery already. So I was struggling sometimes to take out the wheel. Therefore, I just printed this very simple ring around it with like a holder in here, and basically that significantly increases the grip. So right now it's just much easier just to grab it with even sweaty 2 fingers and lock on unlock it. And this bit is printed out of PETG because actually the flexibility here is something that's desired. In addition, there's, I don't know if you can see it, probably not very well, but basically there's a rubber band underneath this 3D printed part, so that prevents the ring to slip at all. So it's just very rigid. Now let's look into the second part of the mod, which is the one that connects to the wheel. One of these sets is required for every wheel you want to use the quick release mod with. The first part goes directly inside the wheel. So if we compare it to the original Thrustmaster part, you can see that this is basically the same. Just to make it see better, yeah, has the same size and height as the original part. It literally goes inside the wheel, and then the second piece holds the quick release mechanism. So this aluminium part that snaps inside this bit. So we just go it. So it just aligns here, goes inside, and you just lock it. Yeah. I mean, without the wheel, it's not as that easy because it's a pretty snug fit. The cutout in the part is used to push through the 6-pin connector that plugs into the wheelbase, so that you don't have to I don't know, solder anything or rewire it, etc. You just simply push through the whole part, and then you screw it into these 2 screw holes, and it's done. And that's a very quick thing to do, and I'll show that in a moment. Okay, so in terms of compatibility, it definitely works with my pre-310 wheel. I also tested it with the Ferrari GTE and the leather GT wheels that I no longer have. Now, I'm like 99% sure that every add-on wheel and every wheel in Thrustmaster ecosystem is using the same bit. I mean the same part, right? I think it's like consistent design across all the wheels. Actually, if I did not mention the wheel you're using, you can quickly just verify it just by checking the size. So the diameter here is roughly around 70 millimeters. I mean, this one is 71, so that's more over that. And then the height of the pin, the standoff, is 15 millimeters. So that's the same size as this bit. I'm like almost sure it will be everywhere, but I just don't own all the wheels, so I wasn't able to test that. So I also made a different type of the wheel mount that can be used to mount custom wheels to the Thrustmaster wheelbase. As you can see, I'm using like an OMP cheap Chinese wheel. I bought it for like 30 pounds or something. But for some reason I like it. It's good for rally, for drifting, for driving old cars. It's quite alright. So I also have my like a custom box with buttons here. They're again basic, cheap, but it works great. And now on the other side we have the same similar connector that is fully compatible with the part of the mod that connects to the wheelbase. But it's different so that it's a custom build. So I found a blog online. Don't know who's running it. The link is rr-m.org. I'll put a link in the video description. But basically, what the guy did is figured out how to use Arduino to connect to make it compatible with the Thrustmaster wheelbases. So you just get a standard 6-pin connector, which is exactly the same as the one that we have in original wheel, and you simply plug it in, and the wheelbase recognizes it as if it was like a normal Thrustmaster wheel. So all the buttons, everything works right, straight away, like just a plug and play. No need to put in extra USB cables, no nothing. So how it works is like I have this separate design for the custom wheels. We have similarly shaped connector when you put the aluminum part for the quick release, but it has just a round hole inside through which you push through the 6-pin connector, and then you lock it with these two small 3D printed bits. You just put the connector in between them, strap it in inside. Sorry, I just don't have another part at me right now, but you simply plug that in. It holds in place pretty nicely. Then you screw it inside the main part, just like that, and it holds pretty well. There's nothing loose in here. It's pretty rigid, so I have no issues with it. I've been using it for quite a while. Never had any issues at all with it. Okay, now let's look how to replace the mod in the wheel itself. So it's actually very straightforward. What you do first is to remove just the 3 screws on the front of the wheel. So it's this screw, this one, and this one. Only these 3. Nothing else needs to be removed. So let's do that quickly. Okay, so that's done. Now let's put it on the other way around. And now gently take this part. So this is the whole mounting system for Thrustmaster. So just gently put it out, just like that. And then you pull it out. You see it's connected to the board inside. Now my cable is longer than the one you'll have. I've made some prototypes and everything, so I had to extend the cable. Yours will be shorter, so just watch out not to tear it out. Okay, so let's put it on the side. First thing is to remove the shielding screw. So let me just put it a bit closer to the camera. I don't know if you can see it. There's a shielding screw here. Oops. Yeah, this one has to be removed, but yeah, watch out when doing that. Okay, so let's just quickly remove it. Alright, just take it on the side, and now just again very gently pull the cable. You can see it, yeah, pull the cable from the JST pin here, just move it on the sides and that will work. And that's out. That's out, right? So let's now unscrew these 2 screws that hold the 6-pin DIN inside. So now 1, okay, And now we can take it out. So just gently put it to the hole here, not to damage the cables, and it's out. So we no longer need this. But so now when we have this cable out, we can plug it back. So what I like to do is put the shielding screw in first. Okay. Just screw it in, not very tight, just like normally, and then plug in the JST. Yeah, so we're back with just the cable hanging here. Yeah. Right, now let's take the first part of the critical release mode. This is the one with the standoffs. There's one thing here you have to notice. There's like a cutout on the side of this part, and this aligns with inside the wheel. You can see this part here, so the cutout has to align into that part. So let's do it. Put it through, align it, goes in. Yeah. Now we take the second part with the quick release system, and we put it through this hole here, just like that. Put it through. Yeah. So just one comment here. In your case, the cable will be shorter. You might need to stretch it just a bit, but it definitely will be enough. So just when you put it out, it'll be just fine. Yeah. Right now, the critical step is making sure that this wider part, this lighting is rubbish, I'm terribly sorry for that, but basically the wider part of the quick release system, the wider part here goes to the top of the wheel. So this is the top of my wheel, and the wider part goes here. Now when it comes to the 16 pin, so the part that has no pin on the top goes to the top of the wheel as well. So just squeeze that in, and that's how we need to screw in these the 6-pin in. So let's do that right now. Just don't do it super tight. Don't want to damage it, but at the same time make sure there's no spacing, so there's no space left. Alright, that's done. So right now the only I messed up my cables a bit, sorry for that. Again, you won't have that issues because your cable will be shorter. So I put it in. Now let's move it back, and maybe actually it will be easier on the side. So we take one of the longer screws, 45 millimeters, put it in, and it goes through the whole the first part. Yeah, so you can see it's sticking out, and then you align it to the hole in the main part. And now we just need to screw it in. Okay. Now let's align the second screw. And the third one. Yeah, so that's all in, and we can tighten the screws right now. Yeah, and that's it. Okay, so unfortunately these aren't black, but yeah, what can you do about it? And now we have our quick release mounted, and then you just put it into the base, and you're done. So that's it. All the functionality, all the buttons, everything works as with the original Thrustmaster mounting system. It's just faster and more convenient. Unfortunately, there's a reason why these quick releases are so cheap, and that reason is huge inconsistency. So I designed the mod originally based on the first quick release system I bought, and then when I bought extra ones for my additional wheels, I found that the fit isn't as good as with the original one. Even though they looked basically the same, in one case it was pretty hard to put it together, so just to slide it like this, it was quite difficult in case of the one. And with the third one, when I locked it, it was a bit loose. It's always just a very slight variance, and that's causing fitting issues. So obviously, because of that, it was literally impossible to design a universal part that will fit all of these variances. And therefore, I came up with these. So these are spacers that one can use to decrease or decrease the space between the mounting system, like the base here inside. So this part of the quick release inside here touches these surfaces of the 3D printed part. And now by adding this large spacer here underneath the aluminum bit, you decrease the space. So I call it like a minus spacer, because it decreases the space between the aluminum bit and the surface here. This spacer is to be used when the fit is tight. So when you plug in the quick release and you just can't close it. Now, if you mount it in and the wheel is loose, then you need this one, which is a plus spacer. So you simply put it in like that, and then just test it out. If it's enough, then just use some simple super glue or whatever just to keep it in place, so it's not moving. Now, if it's still loose after putting a single spacer, you can either put a second one, or sometimes putting two of these is too much. Yeah. So what I also did in some cases is just put small pieces of tape, and just added one piece of the tape, try it in, okay, still loose. Added second layer, it's getting better, still slightly loose. Added third layer, it's fine. Same goes for this, but you just put pieces of tape if after putting the spacer it still doesn't fit, so it's still hard to just close it. Yeah. And now, just to explain how big of variances we have. So in this example that I have in here, this one is using 2 minus spacers. The second one is using 2 minus spacers plus 1 slice of the duct tape, and they're both getting the same fit. Now, the third one, this one is only using 1 spacer, minus spacer as well. My custom wheel, on the other hand, is using 1 plus spacer with some tape. And then my original wheel that I started the whole mod with has no spacers at all. So yeah, it is what it is. But fortunately the solution is easy, and it's quite fast to tweak it and get the perfect fit. Okay guys, so that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed my little mod. I'm definitely enjoying it myself, so that's why I actually decided to make this video. because I really like this solution. I haven't seen anything like that anywhere on YouTube online. I'll put all the links in the video description on how you can get one if you'd like to. Yeah, so thank you for watching. Also, just a side note, this is my very first video on YouTube, and I know the quality has been questionable, but if you manage to get through the whole thing, then yeah, thanks a lot again, and I'll talk to you next time, because I have a bunch of other ideas and cool stuff I can share.